King Josiah told all the leaders of Judah and Jerusalem to come and meet with him. Then the king went up to the Lord's temple. All the people of Judah and the people who lived in Jerusalem went with him. The priests, the prophets, and all the people from the least important to the most important went with him. Then he read the book of the agreement. This was the book of the law that was found in the Lord's temple. Josiah read the book so that all the people could hear it. The king stood by the column and made an agreement with the Lord. He promised to follow the Lord and to obey his commands, the laws, and his rules. He promised to do this with all his heart and soul. He promised to obey the agreement written in this book. All the people stood to show that they promised to follow the agreement. Then the king commanded Hilkiah, the high priest, the other priests, and the gatekeepers to bring out of the Lord's temple all the dishes and things that were made to honor Baal, Asherah, and the stars of heaven. Then Josiah burned those things outside Jerusalem in the fields in Kidron Valley. Then they carried the ashes to Bethel. The kings of Judah had chosen some ordinary men to serve as priests. These false priests were burning incense at the high places in every city of Judah and all the towns around Jerusalem. They burned incense to honor Baal, the sun, the moon, the constellations, and all the stars in the sky. But Josiah stopped those false priests. Josiah removed the Asherah pole from the Lord's temple. He took the Asherah pole outside the city to the Kidron Valley and burned it there. Then he beat the burned pieces into dust and scattered the dust over the graves of the common people. Then King Josiah broke down the houses of the male prostitutes who were in the Lord's temple. Women also used these houses and made little tent covers to honor the false goddess Asherah. At that time, the priests did not bring the sacrifices to Jerusalem and offer them on the Lord's altar in the temple. The priests lived in cities all over Judah. They burned incense and offered sacrifices at the high places in those cities. The high places were everywhere, from Geba to Beersheba. And the priests ate their unleavened bread in those towns with the ordinary people, not at the special place for priests in the temple in Jerusalem. But King Josiah ruined the high places and brought the priests to Jerusalem. Josiah also destroyed the high places that were on the left side of the city gate, by the gate of Joshua. Joshua was the ruler of the city. Topheth was a place in the valley of Hinnom's son where people killed their children and burned them on an altar to honor the false god Molech. Josiah ruined that place so that no one could use it again. In the past, the kings of Judah had put some horses and a chariot near the entrance to the Lord's temple. This was near the room of an important official named Nathan-Melech. The horses and chariot were to honor the sun god. Josiah removed the horses and burned the chariot. In the past, the kings of Judah had built altars on the roof of Ahab's building. King Manasseh had also built altars in the 2 courtyards of the Lord's temple. Josiah destroyed all the altars and threw the broken pieces into the Kidron Valley. In the past, King Solomon built some high places on Destroyer Hill near Jerusalem. The high places were on the south side of that hill. King Solomon built one of these places of worship to honor Ashtoreth, that horrible thing the people of Sidon worship. He also built one to honor Chemosh, that horrible thing the Moabites worship. And King Solomon built one high place to honor Milcom, that horrible thing the Ammonites worship. But King Josiah ruined all these places of worship. He broke all the memorial stones and Asherah poles. Then he scattered dead men's bones over that place. Josiah also broke down the altar and high place at Bethel. Jeroboam son of Nebat had made this altar. Jeroboam caused Israel to sin. Josiah broke down both that altar and the high place. He broke the stones of the altar to pieces. Then he beat it into dust, and he burned the Asherah pole. Josiah looked around and saw graves on the mountain. He sent men, and they took the bones from the graves. Then he burned the bones on the altar. In this way, Josiah ruined the altar. This happened according to the message from the Lord that the man of God announced. The man of God announced these things when Jeroboam stood beside the altar at the feast. Then Josiah looked around and saw the grave of the man of God. Josiah said, "What is that monument I see?" The people of the city told him, "It is the grave of the man of God who came from Judah. This man of God told about the things you have done to the altar at Bethel. He said them a long time ago." Josiah said, "Leave the man of God alone. Don't move his bones." So they left his bones and the bones of the man of God from Samaria. Josiah also destroyed all the temples at the high places in the cities of Samaria. The kings of Israel had built those temples, which had made the Lord very angry. Josiah destroyed them, just as he had destroyed the places of worship at Bethel. Josiah killed all the priests of the high places that were in Samaria. He killed the priests on those altars and burned men's bones on the altars so that they could never be used again. Then he went back to Jerusalem. Then King Josiah called for all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem to come and meet with him. The king went up to the Lord's temple. All the people from Judah, the people living in Jerusalem, the priests, the Levites, and all the people, both important and not important, were with Josiah. He read to them all the words in the book of the agreement. That book was found in the Lord's temple. Then the king stood up in his place. He made an agreement with the Lord. He agreed to follow the Lord and to obey his commands, laws, and rules. He agreed to obey with all his heart and soul the words of the agreement written in this book. Then Josiah made all the people in Jerusalem and Benjamin promise to accept the agreement. The people of Jerusalem obeyed the agreement of God, the God their ancestors obeyed. The Israelites had idols from many different countries, but Josiah destroyed all the terrible idols. He made all the people in Israel serve the Lord their God. And as long as Josiah was alive, the people continued to serve the Lord, the God of their ancestors. Then King Josiah gave a command to all the people. He said, "Celebrate the Passover for the Lord your God. Do this just as it is written in the book of the agreement." The people had not celebrated a Passover like this since the days when the judges ruled Israel. None of the kings of Israel or the kings of Judah ever had such a big celebration for Passover. They celebrated this Passover for the Lord in Jerusalem during Josiah's 18th year as king. Josiah destroyed the mediums, wizards, the house gods, the idols, and all the horrible things people worshipped in Judah and Jerusalem. He did this to obey the law written in the book that Hilkiah, the priest, found in the Lord's temple. There had never been a king like Josiah before. Josiah turned to the Lord with all his heart, with all his soul, and with all his strength. No king had followed all the law of Moses like Josiah, and there has never been another king like Josiah since that time. But the Lord did not stop being angry with the people of Judah. He was still angry with them for everything that Manasseh had done. The Lord said, "I forced the Israelites to leave their land. I will do the same to Judah. I will take Judah out of my sight. I will not accept Jerusalem. Yes, I chose that city. I was talking about Jerusalem when I said, 'My name will be there.' But I will destroy the temple that is in that place." All the other things that Josiah did are written in the book, the history of the kings of Judah. King Josiah celebrated the Passover to the Lord in Jerusalem. The Passover lamb was killed on the 14th day of the first month. Josiah chose the priests to do their duties. He encouraged the priests while they were serving in the Lord's temple. He spoke to the Levites who taught the Israelites and who were made holy for service to the Lord. He said to the Levites, "Put the holy box in the temple that Solomon built. Solomon was David's son. David was king of Israel. Don't carry the holy box from place to place on your shoulders again. Now serve the Lord your God and his people, the Israelites. Make yourselves ready for service in the temple by your tribes. Do the jobs that King David and his son, King Solomon, gave you to do. Stand in the holy place with a group of Levites. Do this for each different tribe of the people so that you can help them. Kill the Passover lambs and make yourselves holy to the Lord. Get ready to help your fellow Israelites. Do everything the Lord commanded us in the laws he gave to Moses." Josiah gave the Israelites 30,000 sheep and goats to kill for the Passover sacrifice. He also gave 3,000 cattle to the people. All these animals were from King Josiah's own animals. Josiah's officials also freely gave animals and things to the people, to the priests and Levites to use for the Passover. Hilkiah the high priest, Zechariah, and Jeiel were the officials in charge of the temple. They gave the priests 2,600 lambs and goats and 300 bulls for Passover sacrifices. Also, Conaniah with Shemaiah and Nathaniel, his brothers, and Hashabiah, Jael, and Jozabad gave 500 sheep and goats and 500 bulls for Passover sacrifices to the Levites. These men were leaders of the Levites. When everything was ready for the Passover service to begin, the priests and Levites went to their places. This is what the king commanded. The Passover lambs were killed. Then the Levites skinned the animals and gave the blood to the priest. The priest sprinkled the blood on the altar. Then they gave the animals to be used for burnt offerings to the different tribes. This was done so that the burnt offerings could be offered to the Lord the way the law of Moses taught. And they did the same with the bulls. The Levites roasted the Passover sacrifices over the fire in the way they were commanded. And they boiled the holy offerings in pots, kettles, and pans. Then they quickly gave the meat to the people. After this was finished, the Levites got meat for themselves and for the priests who were descendants of Aaron. These priests were kept very busy, working until it got dark. They worked hard, burning the burnt offerings and the fat of the sacrifices. The Levite singers from Asaph's family got in the places that King David had chosen for them to stand. They were Asaph, Heman, and Jeduthun, the king's prophet. The gatekeepers at each gate did not have to leave their places because their brother Levites made everything ready for them for the Passover. So everything was done that day for the worship of the Lord as King Josiah commanded. The Passover was celebrated and the burnt offerings were offered on the Lord's altar. The Israelites who were there celebrated Passover and the festival of unleavened bread for 7 days. Passover hadn't been celebrated like this since the time of Samuel the prophet. None of the kings of Israel had ever celebrated a Passover like this. King Josiah, the priests, the Levites, and the people of Judah and Israel, who were there with all the people in Jerusalem, celebrated the Passover in a very special way. They celebrated the Passover in Josiah's 18th year as king. This book is the vision of Nahum from Elkosh. This is the sad message about the city of Nineveh. The Lord is a jealous God. The Lord punishes the guilty, and he is very angry. The Lord punishes his enemies, and he stays angry with them. The Lord is patient, but he is also very powerful. The Lord will punish the guilty. He will not let them go free. He will use whirlwinds and storms to show his power. People walk on the dusty ground, but he walks on the clouds. He will speak harshly to the sea, and it will become dry. He will dry up all the rivers. The rich lands of Bashan and Carmel become dry and dead. The flowers in Lebanon fade away. The Lord will come, and the mountains will shake, and the hills will melt away. He will come, and the earth will shake with fear. The earth and everyone on it will shake with fear. No one can stand against his great anger. No one can endure his terrible anger. His anger will burn like fire. The rocks will shatter when he comes. The Lord is good. He's a safe place to go to in times of trouble. He takes care of those who trust him. But he will completely destroy his enemies. He will wash them away like a flood and chase them into the darkness. Why are you making plans against the Lord? He will bring complete destruction, so you will not cause trouble again. You will be destroyed completely, like thorn bushes burning under a pot. You will be destroyed like dry weeds that burn quickly. Someone from Nineveh is making evil plans against the Lord. That advisor is a worthless troublemaker. This is what the Lord said. The people of Assyria are at full strength. They have many soldiers, but they will all be cut down. They will all be finished. My people, I made you suffer, but I will make you suffer no more. Now I will set you free from the power of Assyria. I will take the yoke off your neck and tear away the chains holding you. King of Assyria, the Lord gave this command about you. You will not have any descendants to wear your name. I will destroy your carved idols and metal statues that are in the temple of your gods. I am preparing your grave because your end is coming soon. Judah, look! There, coming over the mountains is a messenger bringing good news. He says there is peace. Judah, celebrate your special festivals and do what you promised. Those worthless troublemakers will not come through and attack you again. They have all been destroyed. An enemy is coming to attack you, so guard the strong places of your city. Watch the road. Get ready for war. Prepare for battle. Yes, the Lord changed Jacob's pride. He made it like Israel's pride. The enemy destroyed them and ruined their grapevines. The shields of his soldiers are red. Their uniforms are bright red. Their chariots are shining like flames of fire and are lined up for battle. Their horses are ready to go. The chariots race wildly through the streets and rush back and forth through the square. They look like burning torches, like lightning flashes from place to place. The enemy calls for his best soldiers. They stumble as they rush ahead. They run to the wall and set up their shield over the battering ram. But the gates by the rivers are open, and the enemy comes flooding in and destroys the king's palace. The enemy takes away the queen, and her slave girls moan sadly like doves. They beat their breasts to show their sadness. Nineveh is like a pool whose water is draining away. People yell, "Stop! Stop running away!" But it does not do any good. Take the silver! Take the gold! There are many things to take. There are many treasures. Now Nineveh is empty. Everything is stolen. The city is ruined. People have lost their courage. Their hearts melt with fear. Their knees knock together. Their bodies shake, and their faces turn pale. Where is the lion's cave now? The male and female lions live there. Their babies were not afraid. The lion, king of Nineveh, killed people to feed his cubs and lionesses. He filled his cave with men's bodies. He filled his cave with women he had killed. The Lord All-Powerful says, "I am against you, Nineveh. I will burn your chariots and kill your young lions in battle. You will not hunt anyone on earth again. People will never again hear bad news from your messengers." It will be very bad for that city of murderers. Nineveh is a city full of lies. It is filled with things taken from other countries. It is filled with plenty of people that it hunted and killed. You can hear the sounds of whips and the noise of wheels. You can hear horses galloping and chariots bouncing along. Soldiers on horses are attacking. Their swords are shining. Their spears are gleaming. There are many dead people. Dead bodies are piled up. Too many bodies to count. People are tripping over the dead bodies. All this happened because of Nineveh. Nineveh is like a prostitute who could never get enough. She wanted more and more. She sold herself to many nations, and she used her magic to make them their slaves. The Lord All-Powerful says, "I am against you, Nineveh. I will pull your dress up over your face. I will let the nations see your naked body. The kingdoms will see your shame. I will throw dirty things on you and treat you in a hateful way. People will look at you and laugh. Everyone who sees you will be shocked. They will say, 'Nineveh is destroyed. Who will cry for her?' I know I cannot find anyone to comfort you, Nineveh. Nineveh, are you better than Thebes on the Nile River? Thebes also had water all around her to protect herself from enemies. She used that water like a wall too. Ethiopia and Egypt made Thebes strong. Libya and Sudan supported her. But Thebes was defeated. Her people were taken away as prisoners to a foreign country. Soldiers beat her small children to death at every street corner. They threw lots to see who got to keep the important people as slaves. They put chains on all the important men of Thebes. So, Nineveh, you will also fall like a drunk. You will try to hide. You will look for a safe place away from the enemy. But Nineveh, all your strong places will be like fig trees. The new figs become ripe. People come and shake the tree. The figs fall into their mouths. They eat them, and the figs are gone. Nineveh, your people are like women, and the enemy soldiers are ready to take them. The gates of your land are open wide for your enemies to come in. Fire has destroyed the wooden bars across the gates. Get water and store it inside your city, because the enemy soldiers will surround your city. Make your defenses strong. Get clay to make more bricks and mix the mortar. Get the molds for making bricks. You can do all these things, but the fire will still destroy you completely, and the sword will kill you. Your land will look like a swarm of grasshoppers came and ate everything. Nineveh, you grew and grew. You became like a swarm of grasshoppers. You were like a swarm of locusts. You have many traders who go places and buy things. They are as many as the stars in the sky. They are like locusts that come and eat until everything is gone and then leave. And your government officials are also like locusts that settle on a stone wall on a cold day. But when the sun comes up, the rocks become warm and the locusts all fly away, and no one knows where. King of Assyria, your shepherds fell asleep. These powerful men are sleeping, and now your sheep have wandered away on the mountains. There is no one to bring them back. Nineveh, you have been hurt badly, and nothing can heal your wound. Everyone who hears the news of your destruction claps their hands. They are all happy, because they all felt the pain you caused again and again.